find himself getting passed by multiple cars, as I mentioned earlier on. So Newhoff in a very precarious situation, but he often finds himself in these places. He doesn't qualify as well as he races.
Up front, they are getting with Lee Aberdeen and Luca Varani not very far apart at all here. But I just want to see how Alistair Haig deals with Marcello Kessler coming around the old hairpin.
I would say it's not the best decision they've ever made, just not having done that under the safety car, really.
Yeah, they're taking their pit stop strategies from Ferrari lately or something. What's going on?
In turn one, just too much gas on them, too much feet on the out pedal, and approach he's dropped him all the way down the order. But Philip Hammer is out in front by an 8.91 seconds. Dan Michael is a wall there, sir. And it definitely doesn't want to be hitting that earlier on as well.
Difficult, the understeer is in the dirty air through that final corner because it's such a long corner and you get dragged off into the grass very easily. He'll have the slipstream down it towards the chicane. Peterson was briefly alongside, but that slipstream has saved him and kept him in third.
Yeah, Varani now lost a little bit of time to Aberdeen, about half a second. Peterson is Pike's pushed Morton forward up ahead. He's got out of line. It's now Pike going to have a go at Werrell. Don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such trouble. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden Miller's back in play.
Moving on to the back end of Phil Jocelyn. So there's been a lot of movers and shakers in this first 2 laps here for race.
Absolutely serious racing league. Everybody's a lot have fun. Yeah, and
It's all about the entertainment, so I hope
everybody is enjoying themselves out there in the chat. We know that Ron is been enjoying himself watching the Burger King machines off into the grass a little bit there as they're really bunching up now.
Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
Oh, look at the toss. They haven't got it.
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such up. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry.
Good evening, sports car fans, and welcome to the grand finale for 2023, the Premier Endurance League's GT4 outing, what has been a somewhat successful series thus far. Tonight, we will conclude the championship. Only one can win the inaugural championship series, and at the moment, Owen Coleman dominates the points. He's got himself a very, very hefty 146-point buffer. Drop rounds to come in, but it looks utterly dominant for the Riot Sim Racing car. I'm Scotty Rankin, off alongside of James Parfitt, and I tell you what, Jimmy, it's been an awesome season thus far, including an amazing fuel strategy race at Monza, and just an outwardly glorious display of GT4 category racing.
Yeah, I think this one's going to be very, very interesting. We know that there's two people possibly going to be able to take the win. Owen Coleman and Andrew Dutch, of course, are up for the fight. Dutchy at the moment sitting in 5th, Coleman in 1st place. So I think overall it could be a very interesting way of racing. The circuit's not easy here, Scotty, and I think that's the thing. You know, they've got to be careful going up through the S's. You've got the Dunlops, you've got the Degners, you've got the hairpin, and of course, you've got that run down from Spoons. So there's going to be a lot on the line here, and I'm wondering, you know, how Coleman's going to approach this. He needs to go out and basically just absolutely bury it. He's leading qualifying at the moment with a 2:08. The closest one behind him is a 2:09.3, so he's got literally nearly 4/10 buffer at the moment. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be interesting. It's all on what Andrew Dutch is going to be able to do. Is he going to be able to do a lot? I don't know. He's sitting down in 6th at the moment on quali. Let's see what happens as it goes on.
Yeah, and for Dutchy, it's 2:09.833. All the cars around him separated by about 1/10 of a second at this point in time, and qualifying about to expire with 10 seconds left on the clock of the session. There's only one car that's going to get back to the start-finish line, and I tell you what, it's going to be tight. Indeed, barely. With a second left on the clock, Sam Chapman crossed the start-finish line to start his final qualifying run. For everyone else, the lap that they're on will be the last lap that they will be allowed to partake. I believe you were watching Jimmy Middleton and Mark Fozzie Foster going at it. In terms of where they were for Owen Coleman, his session is now done. So for Dutch, he's also out of the car. The furthest up the grid, he will start as 6th, but with multiple cars behind him still on qualifying laps. Indeed, there's one actually out there at the moment that's yet to set a time. I wonder if that's Skulls. Indeed, it is actually Matthew Skulls.
Yeah,
who hasn't yet set a time.
No, he hasn't got time yet on the board. He's coming into the Casio Triangle now in that Merc, so he's got to be able to basically try and get the foot down. The problem with trying to get your foot down, Scott, is obviously it ends up spinning the back end up in the Merc. So he's got to be a little bit careful. Hug the wall all the way to the right-hand side. Is he going to get a time on the board? He does, but not.
It does beat Dutch.
It's not a great time, but we'll see what happens here, I think, as well as it goes on. There's only a few that are now going to cross the line, so we'll see what happens. And Jordan Malcolm's in YouTube. Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening to you, young sir. How are you? And there we go.
Yeah, and Geordie, of course, a big supporter of the GT4 category. Loves his GT4 racing. He's one of the quickest GT4 racers, I think, actually in the country, as it stands. So, although he's average in an oval machine, the road stuff is where his heart truly belongs.
Average in an oval?
Oh, look.
I've seen Geordie take an absolutely incredible season win in a series there, Scotty. That's a little bit harsh.
Look, he's definitely, compared to his road stuff, I think is probably the better call. Compared to his road stuff, he's definitely a little bit average.
I don't know.
How often have you seen the man on a road course?
Well, I've seen him do it in NASCAR. I don't know if that counts, but it's not, I think I've seen Geordie pull off some absolutely magical skills, mate. I'm not entirely sure that his NASCAR skills are up for question. You never know if you've seen it do, at the end of the day. I don't know, Geordie, help me out here. I'm trying to back you up here, son, but I'm not quite sure what I've got to say. I've seen him pull up a masterstroke, Scotty, with his the way he handles, fuel management and stuff in the BSC. So I don't know.
Ooh. Oh, okay. Geordie's very first ever endurance race win. I can tell you, I was sat in the cockpit alongside of him. We shared that car, and if it wasn't, he was good at burning the fuel. That was his only skill back at that stage, although he had some pace alongside of him as well. But I was the one that saved the fuel strategy. So he must have learned a thing or two since. I love roughing up Geordie. Geordie's one of my very first sim racing partners. So he taught me a lot. I've taught him a lot, and obviously he's done a lot better than I have since then. So.
Well, you've ended up in the booth alongside me. I think that's a win. You know what I mean?
Probably the safest place for me.
Yeah, he's driving pretend sports cars around pretend tracks. So, technically, you've done better because you get to sit up here with me. What more can you ask for? You know what I mean? I love a good Sunday morning with Scotty Rankin.
The wine and cheese up in the booth, I will tell you, that is part of the reason to be up here, is that the joy of the racing and embracement of the racing culture all around is spectacular. We're into the warm-up phase now of the Grand Prix, and the race, sorry, and that means that a few among the drivers will be taking their final rest room break before an hour of racing action. But I can tell you, Darren Burgess actually improved at the tail end of qualifying there, and will actually pop up into P2 in the BMW. So this one isn't done in terms of the manufacturer's benefits. I would say yes, sure, the manufacturers, the Mercedes, are strong here this evening.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't necessarily think this track heavily favors the Merc. I just think that Owen Coleman works away at that set and works away at that set and works away at that set until he finds something. The right sim racing guys around him seem to benefit from that.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, he's got to work they're working as a team. And I think, that's one of the important things, for them. They've got to be able to now, it's almost like we're going into the Tour de France at the moment. They've got to support their lead driver, which of course is Owen Coleman. If they don't support him, there's going to be a problem, and they can't allow the situation to get any out of control. They've got to give him that backup. They've got to give him that support. They've got to try and help him out because he's going to need help. But we've seen Coleman before absolutely, manage it all on his own. So maybe he doesn't need help. But at the same time, I think the Riot boys have got to really support him as much as they possibly can here. And I think that's going to be the important thing. Dawson's got to be able to go in there at the same time. Lawrence has got to be able to go in there. Scholes's got to try and help as much as he possibly can. They've got to give this man that safety buffer he needs going into that. So let's see what happens and see how they get on.
I think he's actually relatively okay. I'm not worried, to be honest, for him. So I think he'll be okay in terms of things. And at the end of the day, he's also the guy that everyone's got to chase down. And that's been the strength of that Mercedes so far, is when it leads off quite strongly. And at a track that has quite a strong dirty air effect as well, particularly through that first sector. So in terms of things, it's Mercedes, BMW, Mercedes, and we were talking actually. I got the opportunity to partake in the V8 Scops support series broadcasting last night. We were talking GT4 cars then. Australia now has its very own FIA GT4 spec series in Australia, and that is absolutely huge news. There was potential on the horizon for there to be two series in 2024 that had the GT4 category as a part of them. One with the Australian production car class and the other one through SRO, who are a series runner, I think, internationally. But that all came to a head, and, well, it ended up getting resolved quite well, because now we've got GT4 endurance racing in Australia, and we've talked over the series, I think, Jimmy, about how important it is to see grass level move on, and the GT4 category as a whole is really, really important to touring car racing the world over.
Yeah, at the end of the day, a brand of racing like the GT4s, it's not quite up there with GT3s and so on and so forth, but it's a good basis for people to get started out. Yeah, I could sit here and Scotty, to be honest, and go, yeah, it's not too expensive, it's not this, it's not that. But at the end of the day, any form of racing generally costs you a fortune anyway. I've even looked at the F4 for me boy series, and that's like a 20 grand entry fee. There's a lot on the line when you do racing in general. So for these guys, they've got this opportunity. I think it's great for them. But let's bring you up the grid and lead you through for the last race here.
Yeah, the final race of the season, it is going to be another Owen Coleman pole position. He's had 4 of them this season. Now, after tonight, his worst qualifying performance was P2. So he's only ever been on the front row of the grid. Imagine if he'd have started this round a little bit further back. Off alongside of it is going to be Darren Burgess in the BMW. We already talked about that one. Daniel Magri and Stefan Lawrence, the 2 Riot Sim Racing Mercedes off of row number 2. And Trent Allen and Matthew Skulls makes it 4 Riot Sim Racing Mercedes into the top 6. For Trent Allen, the first of the Aston Martins, and he'll hope to do the best that he possibly can from there. Excuse me, Andrew Dutch, and indeed your second place in the championship, looking to chase down, is in 7th, off alongside of Alan Dawson in 8th for another of the Riot Sim Racing entries. 9th and 10th is going to be Adrian Gretsch and Martin Hallinan, the first of the Porsches, and another Mercedes to round out the top 10. From P number 11, Afonso Latella is in the second of the BMWs, off alongside of Jacques Swanepoel. Sam Chapman and Cameron Edwards are going to round out row number 7, and that is the second of the Porsches and another BMW. Mark Foster has unfortunately missed the grid cycle and will be starting for the pit lane. So even though he's 15th, won't be starting right there. Off alongside of Jimmy Milton in 16th, Ronald Wong and Andrew Proctor 17th and 18th. 19th is Nick Woods, Leith McClimate and Ricky Provenzali off the back row of the grid are your last starters. Everyone else in the middle there, including my own name, put a line through that.
Yeah, we'll ignore that one, Scotty, but they're just about to come around on their way around the final corner now. Let's get this up and running.
That's it. Off of the final corner. We're going to be in Owen Coleman's hands for the final time this season. And the run now down to turn number 1. It is time to go racing for the final time for the GT4 category. GT3 category finale still to come your way. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, but it's going to be Coleman down the inside. Magri looks to the inside of Burgess in behind him, and it's going to be the BMW on the outside as they run down into turn number 1. And Magri doesn't quite get clear, but neither does Burgess give any room for him to do so. They're going to slot in as they grid it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then Trent Allen in the first of those Aston Martins. So everyone just about through the field survives lap 1. I'll tell you what, Darren Burgess was struggling with a huge amount of understeer as he went through turn 5, the left-hander, and he was offline when he got to 6, so now he's going to be under an extreme amount of pressure here, Jimmy.
Yeah, Magri's climbing all over him as he's going around Dunlop, but more importantly, look at the Riot boys in front of Andrew Dutch at the moment. He's not only got Coleman there as well, we've got Magri, we've got Lawrence, we've got Scholesy, they're all in front of Dutch, and all they've got to do now is let Coleman get away. It's a shame that Magri didn't get Burgess at the beginning, because that would have been an extra sort of notch on the sort of belt, really, because he could have slowed Burgess up as well. But Magri's looking very feisty early on here. He's looking to have a go at Burgess. He knows he needs to get past him. He knows he's got to support Coleman. They're coming into Spoon, so let's see what happens on this Mert. That BMW, it's going to be a couple of laps before he kind of gets his sort of meat underneath him warmed up, and you can see he's just run wide. He's going to put himself under great pressure coming down that backstretch at the moment, Scotty, before they go down into Casio. Because so if Magri's going to have an opportunity, he's got to be trying to take it early, and this is one of them now.
Yeah, but that BMW is supreme in a straight line. The big issue when you come to Suzuka is that the backside of the curves have drainage gutters in them to try and help get rid of water should there be any rain. And with Magri crawling all over those curbs, indeed he's trying to use every limit available to him. The one problem he's going to have is either you go over that gutter, you do not sit on the backside of those curbs here at Suzuka. It's something every driver who's ever going to be successful here knows and understands, because the tyre, it doesn't make solid contact with the ground, and everyone survives lap number 1. The first driver that's really gained a spot is Adrian Gretsch. Him and Alan Dawson swaps places on lap number 1. From there, it's Jacques Swanepoel +1, both of those guys, and Cam Edwards +2 out of lap number 1, as well as Jimmy Middleton's managed to grab 2 spots out of it all. And looking down the field for a little bit of a loser, Alfonso Latella was the big loser on lap number 1 in the BMW.
Yeah, Latella's had a couple of incidents there as well. Dutch almost cleared Matthew Scholes. He didn't quite get him. So for Dutch at the moment, you can see where he is on the left-hand side. He's currently nearly 4 seconds back from Coleman already. And Scholes is doing what he needs to do. He's just keeping Dutch far enough away where he can't get past him. He's planting his car in a, in that defensive stance to try and make sure that he does not release Dutch, because Dutch is going to be sitting there chomping out a bit, right? He's going to be like a racehorse chewing on sugar about now. He's going to be hyped up. He knows he needs to get past Scholes in front, but he can't. Scholes is just positioning in his car in a way where he doesn't get through, and that for Coleman is a massive save at the moment, because Coleman can now clear off. They're now up to 4.3 seconds, and they're absolutely holding him up, the boys at the Riot Squad, which is what they've got to do in the first place. So great job from all of them, but it's going to be even more interesting to see what Dutchy can do and whether or not he's going to be able to clear him.
Ooh.
Oh,
there's a car off at Spoon. There's a car on the outside of Spoon, and it's Stefan Lawrence, actually, out of P4, who's lost the rear end of that Mercedes. I wonder whether or not this is related to the backside of those curbs. We were just talking about how critical they are to stay off the gutters in the loaded portions. You cross them quickly, JP. This will tell the story on the run into Spoon.
I think he's going to try and take these. No, he's at that outside curb there, Scott. He couldn't get that outside curb. He bred the outside curb and then insisted on trying to throttle out of it, and unfortunately it didn't, and it's put him further down there. You can't accelerate a Mercedes out the back end when you're sliding on a curb. It's just not gonna work. Dutch is now gonna gain a place. He's now up into 5th, but he's still got a big old gap going on to now Coleman up front. Dutch's gap's now 5.5 seconds. He lost a second over that last lap alone, and Scholes is doing a absolute mountain of a job here, holding up Dutch solidly, not letting him through, and that's exactly what he's got to do to give Coleman a breather at the front of the field there. So great job from Scholes at the moment, and I think Coleman could buy him a nice little beer later for saying thank you for that one, because he's doing an absolutely stellar job for the team.
I think Ronald Long's actually just made contact with the back of someone. No, it is actually Ronald Long that's actually off the road at the moment as they come through the first sector in the S's. Unfortunately for him, he's parked up on the inside. And another call to race control to have an investigation. By the way, Cam Edwards received a penalty for contact with the rear bumper of Alfonso Latella on lap 1. I think Latella's had further issues because he's in the pit lane very, very early on, and that's going to still mean that he's probably got another stop to get home. There's no way he'd make it from here. And for the rest of the field, fuel is going to be somewhat of an issue as they progress through the evening. We saw how important it was at Monza in that fuel-affected race. On throttle time, lower than Monza for sure, but the lap, it is a lot longer around here.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's an almost a 2-minute lap. They're not going to get much in through this 60 minutes. We're probably going to get to about 30, maybe just touching if possible. So let's see here as well. Dutch has got to be absolutely jumping to try and get past Scholes, and Scholes is just like, nope. He's now out at 6.2 seconds, 6.5 seconds from Dutch to Coleman. But watch. He's just going to go. He should just take to the right-hand side here. If Scholes has got any idea, if he can see Dutch coming, just go to the right-hand side, or the left-hand side as you're looking at it. And he didn't. He left the door wide open. They're going to run side by side down into turn 1. Scholes, you've just been burgled, son. Your TV's gone, your sofa's gone, and now your position's gone as well. You can't leave a door open when you're trying to hold him up. You should have closed that inside line down there, sir, and stop Dutchy getting on it, because now I've got a funny feeling Dutch is going to be on his bike here and he's going to try and get to Magri. He's got 5 seconds up the road until he does get to Magri, but he's still going to have a go. That, unfortunately, there for Scholes, it should have been a defense on that inside line. It should have held him up, but he just didn't. He left the door open, and that's the result of it.
I'm starting to wonder. Something inside of me is sitting there looking at that and going, well, hang on. Does that maybe mean that we've got ourselves actually quite a big fuel race on board here, Jimmy? Is the other side of things, because if that's the case, absolutely Skulls would want Dutch to lead, pull him around. It's going to be more tyre wear for sure, and the thing looking at those two cars was that for me, if Skulls was running perhaps less wing, because there wasn't a lot of closing speed, and Dutch got a huge exit off of the last corner and the run down the front straight, but he didn't close up on the rear bumper of Skulls quite all that much. So I wonder whether or not Andrew Dutch is actually running a little bit more rear wing on this car.
Well, it's possible, but he got that massive overspeed coming out of it, didn't he? You know, generally if somebody's got a big old fat rear wing, he ain't going to get past somebody who's not running the same kind of setup in that process. So for him, the fact that he's got past Dutch, he's opened up half a second, it's going to be a second probably by the end of the next lap, because it does look like Skulls just hasn't got the pace to keep up with him. And the problem with not having the pace to keep up with him, the only person he's going to try and get near now is Magri, and Magri's 5.5 seconds up the road. He's still chasing down Burgess. He's got the draft of Burgess. Don't forget, Dutch has got nothing now. He's in front of Skulls. That's it. As I predicted, 1 second by the end of the lap. You know, Dutch is on his bike now. This is it. That should have been a massive hard defense from Skulls, and it just, unfortunately, he just left the door wide open, and that's just not one of the things you can do. Fozzie is chasing down Ricky Provenzali at the moment as well. Foz, of course, in that McLaren, chasing down the BMW. These guys are battling it out for round about 14th and 15th. Wood in front of them at the moment is also chasing down in Jimmy and his Aston Martin. Hopefully Jimmy be able to finish and complete the race and finish it on track this week as well on this round, but don't tell him I've told you that, you know what I mean? But we've still got Dawson, Gretsch and Skulls fighting out, so it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be tough, and especially now that Dutch has been released. Go on, son, you got to go. You got to go. Yeah. You got to get the... Oh.
Got deep down the inside there, JP, and the problem is that also gives now Darren Burgess gets the exit on the wider side, got the ability to get the power down and also the inside through the double right-handed kink here as they run down to Spoon, and all of a sudden Burgess, whilst he was quick in qualifying, I'm wondering whether or not there's issues with the tyres. The other thing is Skulls is now 2 seconds behind Dutch after he let Dutch through, so I don't think there was much of a question there. I don't think whether or not it was going to happen that one lap or one lap later, I think it was just a matter of chance. I think Skulls just went, yeah, I haven't got much to defend with here. So all of a sudden Andrew Dutch is starting to skip clear, although he's not making time on these cars ahead, even though they are squabbling.
Yeah, but I think the thing is, as you and I both know, that when you defend, and you've got to defend hard. You know, you can't leave it wide open if you haven't got the pace. And I've been in Skulls' shoes. You know, I did a race in an SR10 at Interlagos, or SR8 it was at the time, and I didn't have the pace to keep up with the geezer behind me. But boy, oh boy, did I plant it on every inside curve possible and made it so difficult for him. The guy didn't get past me for about 20 minutes, and then he went in the pits anyway. So, you know, at the end of the day, you might not have been quicker, Skulls, but you give it a go. Have a go. You know, if you're not going to have a crack there, Scotty, you're not going to get the chance to do it. And that's the thing. If you can plant your car on that inside line, run it out a little bit wide coming off the exit of 1. You know, just open up the steering when you're going around a double right-hander. He's going to either end up on the grass or he's going to end up in the side of your car. Then you've got the S's. You can defend the S's and up through Dunlop right now. On the inside, keep the Degners wrapped up as well. On the brakes, hug the inside, into the dip you go. Going out to the hairpin now. He could have planted it on the left. He could have held him for another lap or so, or at least until they got down that back stretch. But he didn't do either. He just left that inside open, and unfortunately for Skulls, he's now got a 2-second gap to Dutch, and that's going to be the problem. But as you say, he's not really making inroads on Magri in front. The last time out for Dutch was on a 209.98. Magri was on a 209.81. But don't forget, Magri's getting the draft from Burgess in front in the BMW, so that's also pulling him along as well. Dutch is doing this all on his own. He's got got pace for days, but he just can't get there because Magri is utilising Burgess. So it's all about what Dutch is going to be able to do and whether or not he can put that pressure on. The problem for Scholes is he's got Greg, Dawson, Swanepoel and Hallinan all chasing him down at the same time with Chapman at the back of him. So if Scholes is not careful, it might not just be the position he's lost to Dutch, it might be the next 5 that he might also lose by the end of this race. He's got to develop something in that car of Scholes. He's either got to put a go forward head on and start attacking, or whack a defensive plant on the Barnet and start putting it on every inside curb he can possibly can. Because otherwise, these guys behind, they ain't going to hang around either.
No, you're 100% right. Now that battle for second place as well continues to heat up as they run down into turn number 1. You get the feeling just watching these guys that Magri's got a fractional pace as we look backwards as well. The battling up and down the field is really, really intense. It's tight, and indeed, Swanepoel's going to lose the rear end of that car.
Dawson's gone round.
Was that Swanepoel?
No, Dawson.
It was Alan Dawson, you're right, yeah.
And that, again, is another massive thing for the Riot boys. Look at the people that have had trouble. Stefan Lawrence, Riot, Dawson, Riot, and the Riots can't afford to do that. Otherwise, Coleman's going to be rioting at the front here saying, give me help here, boys, and both of you, and at the moment, has gone round. He can't afford to do that. If you're going to support, it's the Tour de France, gentlemen. You've got to protect your leader. Get him out the front. Magri's giving Burgess a good old go that Coleman's opening up 3 seconds because he's battling with him. But Lawrence and Dawson, you can't do that when you're coming into the final round, when your team leaders are out in front and you've got Dutch there trying to close down as well. That's got to be better. They've got to do better to try and protect Coleman, especially when they start going into the pit stop strategies, because otherwise it could be that Burgess might jump him, Dutch might jump Magri, and it's all going to go a little bit Pete Tong for the Riot boys. But let's see what goes on as we've still got 45 minutes of racing.
Well, I just had a quick look through, Jimmy. I wanted to see what the go was, and this has been the case of the bulk of the season, is that Owen Coleman, he's got a game face. The game face is so big that, or so convincing that indeed he actually shuts off communications to the rest of the Riot boys. He has no comms with those guys, so he's off on his own. He's in the colours, but effectively he's a sprinter that's gone early at the front end of this thing. I think Andrew Dutch has just gone around. Indeed he has, at 130R. My word.
Game over. If he's gone and hit that barrier, it is game over for Dutch. Coleman can now poodle all of that position that Dutch is just... He's still stuck. Oh, there's another one. That's Provençali as well. Ricky's also gone round.
Was that Provençali? Was that Foster?
It was, yeah. So now, Dutch is all the way down at the back here. Let's have a look and see what he did, Scotty. I can guarantee you now, outside curb, spun the back end of that Merc. Ready? There you go. Over he goes. Round he goes. And he does more pirouettes than a ballerina in Swan Lake. Straight in there as well.
Oh, he's done well. He's actually done really well there to keep that thing out of the fence. And if that was the old iRacing grass model, he was gone for sure.
He would have been torpedoing it into the wall. You know what I mean? But for Dutch now, game over. A lot he's going to be able to do from here. He is sitting down in 17th. It's 40 seconds to Coleman to Dutch. It's done. Coleman has now just got to poodle on, do what he's doing, extend the gap if he can, get the 3.7 seconds. Magri's got Burgess as well. Coming down, they're going to be side by side here. How's this going to work? Magri, hold that inside line. He's going to have the inside for Spoon if he just keeps that nose of that Merc in now. He is. He's trying to pressurize it through. He's going to get through. Now Magri can play a massive part on Coleman. Casio triangle. Go a little bit slower. Hairpin. Go a little bit slower. Start backing him off away from Coleman. Let Coleman extend his gap as much as he can. Burgess is coming at him, Scotty, but for Magri, that was massive.
My word. Look at the drive this BMW's got. By the time it gets down to 130R, he's clear. He's absolutely clear. He's sailed it in there to 130R. It's not over and done with yet. Now he's going to be on the inside when they get down here to the final chicane. Over the curb on the right, curb on the left. Out the other side, but here comes Magri. Magri's got the power down nicely. But now it's that BMW that takes over in a straight line, and this has been the problem for Magri. He cannot match that thing in a straight line. Get in behind him, son. Get more of a draft. Why are you hanging to the right-hand side?
Oh, I don't know.
No, it's done. It's done again.
It didn't even slot in. It did slot in. Burgess has gone deep into turn 1. That's going to allow Magri to have that inside line as they're coming up through the S's now. Magri's got his nose in there. He could have had more of his nose, though. He needed half that car. He needed to. I don't get why he wasn't slotting in behind him. I didn't understand that. I don't understand that. The draft is there for a reason. You know you get it when you're clean behind a car, not sticking your right-hand lights out half a car's length out. He ain't gonna work. Magri, yeah, he had practically, what was it? Literally just the left light tucked in behind him. That's not gonna help. You know, he's got to do it unless Magri's...
It was nearly like it was like somebody was leaning out the window and breathing on him. It was about all of the draft that he was getting.
Yeah, it was...
And I mean that. I don't mean waving a towel. I mean breathing on him would have been all the support he got in a straight line then.
I didn't get that. I didn't get that from Magri, but, you know, the only thing I can think of is Magri's playing a fuel game, right, and sitting back and just saving fuel behind Burgess and going to jump him in the strategies. I don't know, but that, for me, wasn't racing as we perceive it, Scotty. We watched open wheelers, we watched GT4s, we watched GT3s, GTPs, hypercars, whatever you want to call them. We watched them all, and most of them sitting behind the person. Do it now. Use him to pull you along. If you are saving fuel, great. But you got to make sure you do it properly, because otherwise Burgess is going to jump you as well. But Magri, he's got to do something, Scotty.
There's no point in not following him. You're 100% right. There's nobody. Even if he is fuel saving, follow him. Why? Because it means you can lift longer at the end of the straight. You can save more fuel. Anyway, interestingly enough, there is a huge battle pack kicking off between Skulls in 4th place, who looks to be the cork in the bottle, really. He's wafting some dirty air backwards at these guys, and this battle up front is still not decided. This time when they get down to turn number 1, here comes the nose, and Magri's definitely got more rear wing attached to this thing, so he's going to have more of the grip when he gets down here to turn 2. Does he finally get the drive off? If he can clear him here, he might be able to set sail, but they're side by side into turn number 3, still side by side when they get to the right-hander at the S's. It's not done. Magri is still on the outside of Burgess. They go the whole way through the S's at Suzuka, side by side. It's still not done. They're going to get to Dunlop, and it's not done. I have never seen a battle kick on for this long. Does the wing angle?
No,
Magri gets a bit of a wiggle as they come out there. It's not done.
Oh, he slid it coming out of Dunlop.
Fighting.
Yeah, to go side by side up through the S's was absolutely incredible, but he slid it up just coming out of Dunlop. He just put the power down a little bit too early in that Merc. The Merc said, hey, no, son, I don't play that way. You got to be gentle with me. You can't treat me rough, because otherwise I'll just kick you off, and that's not what Magri wants. He's got to try and apply that pressure in that Merc a little bit more gentler. He had that run. He could have held that run coming out of Dunlop, and he just didn't quite do it there at the moment. Provenzali's just lost a place to Lawrence, and now Provenzali's under attack from Edwards behind him. So these guys are battling it out for 14th, 15th, and 16th here. You can see the Skulls, Gretsch, it's more Gretsch is probably more of a cork in a bottle. Skulls has opened up a little bit of a gap. He's got 1 second, and then everybody's closing up behind him. So that battle's not finished either. The battle with McClymon's still kicking off as well. Magri and Burgess is still kicking off. They all gone to about 3 tenths out at the moment. Closest one here would be Leif McClymon in that BMW. They're trying to get past Andrew Proctor. And Proctor's, well, he's making sure that he's as difficult as possible.
Yeah, no easy passes, nowhere up and down the field. And for Sam Chapman, who's closing in on Jacques Swanepoel as well, there's battles right the way around the racetrack at this point in time. This is part of, the appeal of this series as well. And for Sam Chapman, in that Porsche, he is starting to close. He's not the first of the Porsches. It will be Adrian Gretsch that is a little bit ahead of him. But for the meantime, Sam Chapman is escorted to the spectator role, as he really kind of can't just get close enough as we currently stand, albeit he's taking time out of Burgess and Magri. So all of that battling has basically just allowed Owen Coleman to just keep skipping clear, and he's absolutely happy about that.
Yeah, he needs to. You know, let them scrap. Magri is playing the part at the moment. He's doing what he needs to be doing. He's battling away with Burgess. He's given Burgess more than he needs to think about right now, because I can guarantee Darren Burgess in that BMW really doesn't want to think about Daniel Magri right about now. I can tell you that much. He wants to be getting on his bike and after Coleman as much as possible. Magri's keeping him honest. He's keeping the gap, and anybody that knows racing knows that when you fight, you lose time to the car in front. Coleman ain't going to care that they're losing time. He needs them to lose time. He's got an 8-second gap at the moment. You know, he's got a massive gap going on, and he's going to have an even bigger gap to Dutch. It's 43 seconds. He's almost, you know, got a pit stop in hand over Andrew Dutch here. So it's massive for Coleman that these guys just battle on as they are, and it's massive the fact that he's just keeping that Mercedes on the side of the circuit, because if he doesn't keep it on the black stuff, well, that 8 seconds ain't going to be 8 seconds by the time he's finished here, Scotty. I can tell you that much. It's going to be difficult. But McClimate still battling away with Andrew Proctor here. Still can't quite get through. And we've got two BMWs going at it like two gladiators in the old Coliseum.
Yeah, I tell you what, Sam Chapman actually just got a bump from Chuck Swanepoel when they got to the hairpin. Unfortunately for Sam Chapman, he's now dropped a fair few places, and that was your race winner. That was the only driver who was able to make the one-stopper work when we were at Monza earlier in the season, and he won that one by a country mile. Who's exceptionally tight on fuel. And that angle's not really going to tell. It was tight. It was very, very tight down there.
Yeah,
but he did touch him.
Right. I don't think he did. Scotty, I'm going to disagree with you here. I got a funny feeling Chapman might have lost that all on his own. We'll have a look on board with the chopper. If you can see them going into the hairpin, I think you can see it on the left-hand side. He never touched him, Scotty.
There you go. I love being wrong.
Well, we don't. We're men. We hate being wrong. But let's just say it for now.
You do.
Hey, I don't mind being wrong. I'm wrong quite a lot of the times, according to the wife. You know what I mean? Yeah, why not? At the end of the day.
Well, see, the thing is with race cars, when you're wrong, you generally learn something. Well, not even just with race cars. I love being wrong because, you know, if you go in with that approach of what can I pick out of this, I mean, that's generally where you pop out the other side with a big old smile on your face going, I've learned something. Yeah,
this is also true, but boy, oh boy, does the salt feel horrible when you're wrong and you got the wife there going, and you're like,
Okay, the wife situation is definitely different. I hate being wrong in front of the wife.
Oh, he's trying, Magri, to switch back. Switch! Oh, he's just not switching back. They're going to go into spoon. Magri's hoping the Burgess gone in deep. He has. Magri's got to put that power down on that Merc as quickly as is possible, but he's had to tighten up the exit again, and he's lost a little bit of time. So unfortunately for Magri, he's going to have to go again. There's no real right or wrong line round spoon. That's the problem. Some people run wide and tighten up the exit. Others come in tighter and try and open up the exit. There's no real right way, but clearly for Magri, his way isn't working because he can't quite get the draft out of Spoon to stay with Burgess. So give him a lap, have a go at following Burgess's line. But he's got the run now, so this is where he's got to go.
Yeah, have a look at the run that he got off the slow corners, though. I think that it's the medium and high speed corners where he's struggling, even though he might have a fraction more wing. And Burgess is actually extending as they get down the straight here. He's got to get down underneath the brakes, down into turn number 1. Burgess sends it on the brakes that time in. The car wriggled all over the place under brakes. And now it's this mid-corner here where he's exceptionally strong. It's the slow stuff. If he's going to get this done for me, I reckon he's going to try and switch back him, drive off the hairpin. Seems to be where he's really, really good. He gets phenomenal drive through the final chicane, does Daniel Magri, but he always checks himself up. So I'm wondering whether or not he starts a fraction back this lap. He's got a great run through the last one here. If he can get the nose down the inside of Dunlop, no, he's a fraction tight.
Oh, he nearly lost it going out the exit of the S's. And now that's dropped him to about half a second back at the moment. So Magri's still not quite there currently at the moment. What's going on with Edwards and Provenzali? Well, they're both nearly nose to tail. And of course, we've got Foz in the McLaren up in front of them here as well, scrapping it out. So a great job from Foz in the McLaren. He is the only one in the field, unfortunately. But that's the only GT4 I own, to be honest, as we watch Jimmy run wide coming out there as well, coming out of the S's going into Dunlop. So Foz is going to be under pressure from the BMWs behind, but is how much pressure Provenzali and Edwards want to put on each other to battle with Foz, or are they going to do a Burgess and Magri and scrap it out and allow Foz to get on his bike a little bit? We're going to find out because we've got 30 minutes left.
Yeah, we're rapidly closing in on that pit window, and I tell you what, as soon as that window opens, would not surprise me to see Daniel Magri come in. I think he can get the undercut. He might get this job done. We're continuing to watch this battle pack that's on board a little bit further back, but for now, Jacques Swanepoel's starting to make time. Started out of P12, all the way up to P6 at the moment. Now he's hunting down Adrian Gretsch, and for P5, Scholes has managed to skip clear, and there's a few guys. Trent Allen just said, I'm coming into the pits this time by. Just be aware to the car behind, which is obviously always good. Drivers tend to communicate that within sim because they can. I mean, in real world, they stick a hand out the window or something, or activate the blinkers.
I don't know, mate. I think they generally
one of the ways that used to do that.
Yeah, I think they just generally go in as well at times. I've watched some racing at Real World, and they've literally just pulled in and not really actually said anything. Alan has gone into the pit, so he's the first person to blink currently at the moment, and Swanepoel's trying to give Gretsch something to think about, the Merc and the Porsche, of course. So let's see how this carries on. There's battles developing. I think we're almost at the boil the kettle stage where you've just put it on and it's you know, simmering nicely at the moment, but you wait to that explosion a bit later on, I can tell you that much, because it's going to go off here. And the interesting will be is whether or not Magri is saved enough to jump Burgess in the pits. That's going to be a story, because if that happens, Magri's part in this, like, this whole story, this whole pantomime, this whole race that we've got going on is gonna be massive. So let's see what happens there as well. And for Lawrence, he's now trying to chase down Foz as well. Of course, Lawrence had his own little incident in Spoon earlier on in the race.
Yeah, and something else is just sort of keeping up an eye on. And yeah, I think you're right. I think the old pot about to boil reference is quite good, unless it's potatoes, in which case just whack the wooden spoon over the top of that. Taught my wife that trick actually this week.
Yeah,
she was very surprised. Yeah. She thought I was a voodoo magician.
No, apparently it works, doesn't it? You whack a wooden spoon on the pan, it stops it boiling over.
Yeah. It does it. Yeah. 100%. I did that in front of the wife. Yeah, it was over boiling this week, and she was. I got a look of raw surprise. That not common. I was glad to pull that one out and get the reaction I was after. In terms of things at the moment,
Coleman's in the pits.
Yeah, I don't blame him.
No, he had time.
Which says to me, well, does he pop back out with clear air? I'm wondering whether or not he's actually going to get back. I think he's going to come out in the middle of battle pack here.
Well, he's just
Trent Allen pit.
Well, he's just stopped. So he's up on the jacks at the moment. He's going. Scholes has gone past him. Swanepoel's gone past him. Dawson's going to go through as well. Gretchen Hanlon are in the pits. And then you've got Chapman, who's also in as well. So for Coleman at the moment, he really kind of needs to come out sharpish. Jimmy's in the pits, which is ideal for Coleman as well. Coleman still sat there. Edwards might get past him. Provenzali might get past him. But he has got clean air because Trent Allen is a long way back.
Okay, yep.
So he has managed it here. For Coleman, he has got that clean air because he knows Provenzali and Edwards is going to go into the pits probably over the next lap or so for Owen Coleman anyway. So Coleman at the moment's done a great job, of course, on track currently before the pit cycle. Burgess is now leading the race, still under pressure from Magri, as they practically have been for the whole entire opening 32 minutes.
Yeah, now this one becomes difficult up at the point here. I was expecting Daniel Magri to go for the undercut or just do. He can't follow Burgess. I think he's shown he's got more pace. And I think he's probably let this his second place get him by. I mean, he hasn't looked aggressive in the recent history of this one. Hasn't got alongside to run that whole first sector side by side at Suzuka. Very uncommon for that to happen. Normally somebody resolves it by the time you get to turn 4. Let alone 5, 6 side by side until the exit of 7 is just about unheard of.
Well, if it was an official race,
away at the moment.
if it was an official race, Scotty, they wouldn't have got through turn 1 side by side. Let's put it that way, as you and I both know. Officials can be quite horrendous at times. So there we go. Magri's getting that draft out of that Casio triangle. He's now just got to follow Burgess in. And I think Scholes, to be honest, isn't going to be far away.
I hate that.
I know, you wanted him to go a lap. He clearly, though, the problem for Magri is he didn't make the overtake and he didn't fuel save. So now we're questioning whether or not he's even got the pace to stay with it. Nick Wood's gone round in the BMW. Who's going to take the overall lead at the moment? I'm expecting Edwards and Provenzali to come in as well, because I'll be very surprised if these guys don't. They're going to hug the right-hand side. In they both go. That's going to release this man now as well. He's going to clear all of that bunch of cars that's gone into the pits. So Burgess, Magri, Scholes, Dawson, Schwanapole, Edwards and Provenzali, and now going to retake the lead. There you go. He shoots up the time in tail, and the only person he's got to beat is Nick Wood, but Wood's got a pit as well. So there we go. And Coleman's last lap, obviously with that pit stop included, and that was a 2:55. But we'll see what he does on this first lap, really, with his free run coming out of the pits.
I wonder whether or not Darren Burgess only took 2 tyres there, because he was down and out of the pits 6 seconds quicker than Daniel Magri. And they basically went up on the jacks at a similar time, and then Burgess dropped a lot quicker. He was still sat static there, taking on fuel, but no tyres. I'm curious as to what's going on there with the tyre strategy, JP. I can't necessarily sit down and say one way or the other. Scholes was quick through the lane, and the other problem is, well, now he's 6 seconds back. I was thinking to myself, if he's going to get this one done, Daniel Magri, it's in the pit lane, but now he's 8 seconds away from Burgess.
Yeah, he didn't do anything. I think we can safely say, when you're looking at Magri at the moment, nothing got done. Nothing. I know I'm probably going to sound harsh here, so please don't slate me off at home, but nothing got achieved. He didn't get past Burgess. He didn't fuel save behind Burgess, and now he's come out even further back from Burgess. So at the moment, Magri didn't achieve anything in that first sector, which is what we were saying he needed to achieve. He needed to jump either Burgess in the pits, or he needed to fuel save, or he needed to pass him, and he didn't achieve either. He's now going to be running for the rest of this race, and I can guarantee this now, he will run the rest of his race on his own, because everybody behind has pitted, everybody in front has pitted, and for Magri is just about trying to get lap after lap onto the back of Burgess and hope Burgess makes a mistake, which is very should we say, because he hasn't made any mistakes at all in this first half of this race. So Magri's not really achieved a lot at the moment. However, Mark Foster has achieved one thing, and that could be going off the circuit down into turn 1 here. And there he goes.
Rear end got away from him. Yeah, fraction too hot in turn 1. Remember back at Road Atlanta, I think Darren Burgess only took 2 tyres, and I don't think it worked out for him at Road Atlanta. Suzuka is probably more harsh on the tyres than Road Atlanta is. So, in terms of things, if it's a 2 tyres plays a 4 tyres strategy, well, when Magri gets there, he's absolutely going to have a lot more pace this time. But he's only got 25 or so minutes to attach himself to the rear bumper of Darren Burgess, and Burgess is 8 seconds up the road. Now, given Burgess has actually closed some time in on race leader through that pit strategy, so he was absolutely quicker through the pit lane than Owen Coleman. He was 4 seconds from end to end quicker than Coleman, but yeah, there you go.
But that's... Oh, Lawrence and Provenzali side by side there. Jimmy gave Ricky a bit of a squeeze on that one, and Ricky unfortunately has lost a place. But I want you to have a look at Nick Wood, right? Nick Wood started all the way down in 19th place after, and I specified this, guys, after the pit stop cycle. Nick Wood has gained them 15. He's now sitting in 4th overall. It's not 4th as in he's just been given the opportunity. It's 4th overall, and his pit lane time was 46.2 seconds, almost 6 to 7 seconds quicker than some of the guys in front. Question's got to be asked, though. Did Wood take any tyres, or did he not? That's going to be the question for Wood, and how much is he going to struggle? Stefan Lawrence! Oh! Nearly lost the back end there, Scotty.
Yeah, big moment. And now he's going to be crawled all over by Andrew Dutch. Both of these guys relegated towards the tail end of the field through their own faults and spins. But now they're chasing down Ricky Provenzali again, and Jimmy Middleton's up the road. And I tell you what, I get the feeling right now Jimmy Middleton will be sticking it to Ricky and saying, hey, Ricky, come get me, baby. I'm leading between you two.
The problem is, but
that's normally the way the banter goes.
yeah, the problem is for Jimmy, though, as we've seen as the season's gone on, he's normally a master of his own downfall. And he does make some unfortunate errors at times, doesn't he? And that's not me being harsh. You know what I mean? Jim's even said at times to me, you
it's
know,
not.
His driving is somewhat questionable. And if I was Provenzali, I'd use him to close in on him, but let Jimmy race him. But see if Jimmy's going to make his own mistake. Yeah, he pulled out, gave him a little bit of a show, and he's not going to be able to get it unless he comes back through airmail and FedEx it, to be honest. It was that long far back for Ricky. But Jimmy's been a master of his own downfall, so pressurise him, and Jimmy in that Aston might make a mistake all on his own.
You know what? I think the fact that it's Ricky behind him is probably actually going to make him drive better, you know? And Ricky's been a little bit cheeky with trying to get the overtake done on Jimmy. What he's actually done is open the door to Stefan Lawrence, who gets alongside. They go to Dunlop. Lawrence is going to be on the outside. It's a shorter way around Dunlop. And it's a long left-hander. When they get to the right-hander down here, the Degners, he's going to be on the inside as Stefan Lawrence, and Dutch is trying to shove a nose into Mercedes right there as well. They all managed to survive to get out the other side, but only just.
Yeah, Lawrence there took some chances. Unfortunate enough, it did pay off for him. If I was Lawrence, I'd go and buy a lottery ticket about now, because that could have worked out a lot different than what it was. The problem is for Dutch, did you see Dutch's run out of Dunlop? He had nowhere to go. These two were side by side. It's not a massive wide track where you can get free wide. You can down the back straight, but you've got to be brave. And Dutch just had nowhere. He was there looking at the back end of both of these cars going, nah, I can't go anywhere. And he just couldn't physically go anywhere for Dutch. He's losing it out.
Darren Burgess, huge clutch down onto turn one. So you want to know how he got that advantage through the pit lane? Lots and lots of fuel. He has trimmed that thing out in terms of fuel to keep the lead. He's really trimmed that thing out. There was a massive lift.
It's got to be
He's going to be okay here through the S's.
What does he do?
We're having a torrid time of talking over each other tonight, Jimmy.
Yeah, I think, as I say, I think my UK Spud internet is playing a little bit of grief here.
Still better than Australian, I'll tell you that much.
Oh, mate, I wouldn't bet on that other times, I'll tell you that. As soon as you start doing anything, it goes. Yeah, he's lifting coming into the hairpin as well. Jimmy and Ricky are now back together once more. Lawrence has cleared both of them, so Provenzali and Jimmy are having a good old scrap here as well. Still fighting out with Dutch behind, who again has got nowhere to go.
Yeah, and he's just forced to watch, and as Stefan Lawrence starts to skittle away down the road, you start wondering, oh, never mind, he's going to find somewhere to go as he goes to the right-hand side of the track here as well. This is going to be the difficult opportunity to try and get this overtake done from Dutch, and he's forced to just follow again.
Yeah, he definitely is here. Provenzali's blinking, coming out as well. He's showing a nose. He's telling Jimmy, I'm still here. But boy, you either need to get on or you need to let me go. Because it does look like Provenzali's got a little bit more quicker than Middleton. However, good on Middleton, got a little bit more of a run coming out the hairpin. That's going to allow Provenzali and Dutch it definitely needs this position as more than anything here, I think, as well, as they're going to be heading down that backstretch.
Yeah, that's presented an opportunity to get down the inside for Dutch this time. Provenzali will sidestep, but I tell you what, Provenzali's BMW gets a huge run coming onto the straight. Dutch is going to chase the draft of the car ahead. But remember earlier when I said I think Andrew Dutch might be carrying a fraction more wing? I still think he's carrying a fraction more ring. He's got the draft, he's going nowhere. Provenzali's had to lift. He's had a big lift. Now running wide into 130R is Jimmy Middleton. Can he look for the crossover as he gets down to the chicane? He's deep, goes Dutch, but he gets the job done from a mile back, and Provenzali comes through as well.
Master of his own downfall again for Middleton. One job, get it through Cassio. He didn't get it through Cassio. He had an opportunity. Dutch and Provenzali were fighting it out. There was no need. He overshot Cassio, and this is when we're talking about it. And this is what I said. Middleton at times could be a master of his own downfall, and he was just another master of his own downfall. And that isn't any disrespect, but it all comes down to consistency, and consistency is one thing Jimmy struggled with. And I'm not going to be, I'm not going to be causing any dramas here when I say that. I think we can agree there that Jimmy has been times of his masters of his own downfall, and he's just done it again and lost both places as Skulls and Hanlon now swap places as well.
I was about to say, I was sure Skulls was in 5th place before the stops. He was. He's back to 9th at the moment. He's just picked off P8 off of Martin Hallen, and Hallen got a terrible run on the way down to the hairpin, and he just went better drive off straight around the outside and got it done. And they're going to contest this one all the way on the run up to Spoon now. And Magri, I think, is starting to eke that margin out. It started out at 8 seconds prior to the pit stops. I think it's down to 6.5, and I think it's still closing. And we've still got 15 minutes left in this race. In fact, we've got 16 at the moment. And Mark Foster's done. And he's in a real bad spot, by the way.
Yeah.
Is that the replay of the overtaking move from the last lap? Yeah, you bet it is.
That was Jimmy just losing it now. Now this is what Foster's done going into... Oh, you bounced Degner 1. What have you done till 2? Completely missed 2. And now, stop it. Stop it. He has managed to stop it, I think, under the bridge. He has, but that McLaren is done. You can see, leaning to the right-hand side there, it is all finished. Skulls, Hanlon still scrapping it out. Chapman is now closing in on... He got Gretsch, closed right up to him, and now Chapman's going to have the inside for 1.
I'll tell you what, Daniel Magri on the last lap, put half a second over Nick Wood in behind him, took 3/4 of a second out of Darren Burgess up ahead. Now with 16 minutes left on the go, that's 8 laps effectively for these guys. And the thing is that going to be enough? Well, 8 by 3/4 is 6 seconds. Last lap of the race is going to catch him.
Well, if he can carry on. If he can carry on that way, he will. But it's whether or not Burgess is going to respond. It's, as we know, one thing catching, it's another thing overtaking, and Magri couldn't do it for the first 32 minutes. What makes us think he's going to be able to do it over the last lap of 2 minutes? It's a tough one. But Magri, he's just got to keep putting his foot in, and I get it, and I understand it, and going for it. But he's got to be more decisive if he does catch him in that last lap. He's got to send out the inside. He's got to hope he can get him at some point, because otherwise it's going to be Burgess in that second spot. Coleman's just doing what Coleman needs to do. Keep it on track. 9 seconds out in front. Poodle now as if you're in the car with your grandma, and that's it. All job done for Owen Coleman. Magri's got a little bit more of a challenge.
I'm enjoying this battle. Jimmy, I'm enjoying this battle between the two Porsche drivers as well. This is phenomenal. Give me more of this, because when it's manufacturer, of course, it comes down to driver talent at that point and set up. And Gretsch and Chapman's cleared Gretsch of the pit stops, but I can tell you right now, Adrian Gretsch looks a little bit faster for me in terms of things. There was just a huge exclamation then from Jacques Swanepoel. He is on his side, and you'll see him because he's about to come up on these guys right now. And indeed, this is going to be the replay.
Oh, he's gone on the curb. Good night, Mercedes.
He's on the gutter.
Yep. Whoa. Wow. There's only one way to have a look at that incident. I'm sorry for anybody who's got vertigo at home or motion sickness, but this has got to be the best way of looking at this. Over he goes.
Oh, there it is.
Yep.
Well, I tell you what, you're going to love this, Jimmy. Safety car's been deployed.
I think Look at that. I think, to be honest, they probably needed to. There's not a whole deal that Jacques Swanepoel can do from now. I'm hoping he doesn't race in VR, because otherwise, well, that's just going to be, yeah, horrendous. But, yeah, it's tough now for everyone, and we're going to have to see what's going to happen after this safety car, I think.
And Owen Coleman's your race leader. Well, for Darren Burgess, he was able to hold off Daniel Maggery previously. It was going to be tight in terms of fuel. A safety car is going to null and void that. And we are going to get a sprint race to the end of this thing. Safety car is at turn 3 at the moment. And continuing to track around at the current point in time. But for Owen Coleman, he thought, yep, it's all done. It's all in the books. Job done. Not anymore. This will change things.
This ain't the first time that's happened to Coleman, is it? Where was we? Was we?
I think he's getting used to it.
Man, it's a conspiracy. No, I'm only joking. Was it? I can't remember. Was it Monza that he opened the gap, didn't he? Then he got pulled in by a safety car. Then he opened the gap again, and then he got pulled in by another safety car. I'm sure it was Monza that happened. Maybe I'm...
I think you might be thinking the GT3 series.
Where was it? I'm going to have a look
I think
back.
this is actually the first safety car we've seen for the GT4 series.
Oh, it may have been the GT3s, actually. Maybe my early morning starts catching up with me.
There was a bunch of them at Catalonia, but that was before me and you started commentating together. So...
Yeah.
And again, that was also GT3.
I think that was GT3 Monza, says Sean. Oh, okay. He does race in VR, probably losing his lunch right about now. Yeah, I agree with you, Sean, on that one. That was horrendous there for Swanepoel. I'd have been losing my lunch as well. It's true. It's just true, isn't it?
I think Jacques Swanepoel just became a blender.
Oh.
And I don't think he's enjoying that experience. I think he'd rather prefer to go back the other way before.
Oh, okay. So it was, yeah, it might have been the GT3s at Monza where that kept happening to Owen Coleman, unfortunately, and now it's happened again in the GT4s.
Ah, well, settle in, relax a little bit, take a breath. And for the moment, we say a big thank you and shout out to Gamer Gear Direct, who have been on board for the series thus far. They have been phenomenal as a supporter of the Premier Endurance Racing League. They've been sponsoring the series for a very long time, and from the team from Game and Gear Direct, we're always willing to deal with you as well. They are the sim racing experts. But a shout out to Vegetable Motorsport Mentor as well, because even the professionals need coaches. That is an important point as well. Even the professionals need coaches. Why? Keep you accountable. Keep you looking for the little things that you can improve on, because when you get to that level, and maybe thousandths of a second, but every thousandth of the second does count.
There is no amount of coaching that can make me do a thousandth of a second quicker. I've got to be honest. I have not touched a car for so long. I don't think there's any amount of coaching that could really save me from getting quicker there. So as much as, people say, I can coach you. No, not for a man that drives once every year, if that.
I think for you, it's more than that. I think it might be psychological coaching. We're going to get you out, coach you out of the commentating box. It's too comfy up here.
Hey, I like it up here. I just get to watch the amazing racing. I don't have to try and put myself through the pressure. Because when you speak to every driver who's come out of a race, I go, how are you feeling? They go, whoa, I'm sweaty. I'm like, yeah, don't miss that. Having to peel myself.
That's why we love it,
chair.
though.
Yeah, I know.
If it was easy, we wouldn't be here.
Exactly. And that's why it's like fishing as well. I used to do a lot of fishing in my time, and people used to say to me, don't you get bored when you don't catch anything? And I'll sit back and go, well, it's called fishing for a reason. It ain't called catching, is it? I don't just go to the lake and they jump in me old
That's
net,
true.
like, you know what I mean? So, yeah, people have got to understand that sim racing is that. It's sweaty.
I'll tell you what. I've been putting a lot of work. You know how I've been telling you about how much work I've been putting in my cricket, how much I love my cricket lately. It's been paying off, I tell you what.
Has it?
I played my first ever game of first grader cricket yesterday.
Oh yeah, how'd you get on?
So coaching led. I think I top scored actually. I haven't even looked at the results. I don't think they're in the books yet. So, but in terms of things, don't ever say that coaching won't help, because we got to move clubs this season because we moved areas, and we've got a really, really good club coach at the new club mat, and we've been working on little technical things all the time, and it does help. So for the guys at Virtual Motorsport Mentor, I can tell you 100% it's worth it, because that was where I started. I got some coaching from Chris Purnell and the team, and it did help.
Okay,
Did take me to another level. Made me think about things I wasn't thinking about before.
Yeah, if you want a challenge then and you can get me to the front of the grid, hit me up. And we'll see how good your coaching is.
Okay, that's too much.
Hey,
You're asking too much.
You can tell though that I've stopped driving. I haven't driven for ages, because when I wasn't driving, I had my license. Well, when I was driving, sorry, my license was just steady at a B license, and I was between that 1500 and 1800 mark that everybody kind of gets stuck in. My son started driving it on my account, because obviously when I'm not broadcasting, he can crack on and do whatever he likes. Like, I'm now down below. I'm now on a D license, and my I rating's below 1,000. So, I tell you, my son ain't done me no favors either. I've got to be honest.
I think the lights are going to be out on this safety car. I think we'll be back to green flag racing at the end of this one. So enough of our banter. It's time to think about it. And the thought for Daniel Magri is, I've had the pace, I've now got the tyre life. The fuel question mark that we knew was hanging over Darren Burgess has well and truly cleared itself out of the way. And when we go back to green flag racing, we're going to have about, you know what, we're going to have less than 5 minutes worth of racing left. And this is going to be a different way to end off the season. I've never ended off a season in the Premier Endurance League with a safety car at the very tail end of the race. Owen Coleman, he's controlled every lap of the race. It's been clean, it's been concise, it's been off into the sunset for the first time in a long time. There are cars close behind him in that rear view mirror, and have a think of the guys further down. Your Stefan Lawrence's and Andrew Dutch's, who have gone back to the rear of the field. This is an opportunity for them.
Yeah, but they're not going to have long. I do love Foz in YouTube chat. Hope you got my first spin on the coverage, he says. You know what I mean? Making sure he got his airtime there as Mark Foster in YouTube. So we got most of it, Mark. I'm pretty sure. But we'll have to have a look back and see how much we actually got. But Scotty, they're coming down in the Casio now. I take it one man Coleman is going to be relying on, and that's got to be Magri. He needs to put Burgess under pressure as soon as this goes green, or Coleman's got to play a part and put Burgess into Magri.
He's gone. He's gone. He's absolutely gone. I would have backed him up. I love backing people up on a safety car. And now it's going to be Darren Burgess who struggles to get off the final corner. Here comes Magri. Has he got an overlap? No, he doesn't. And he's going to drop back into that slipstream, see if he can get down to the inside. The final couple of laps here from the Premier Endurance League GT4 Challenge. To the inside, deep into turn one is Burgess, too deep into turn one. He bowls it on the restart, absolutely sends it, thinking he had to be defensive, and he's going to go to the tail of the field. It's a night you'll want to forget for Darren Burgess. He did a great job. There's 3 cars around in turn one. Trent Allen's another one of them, and I think Alan Dawson was another.
Yeah, it was Alan Dawson, Burgess, and Trent Allen there. And Burgess, well, we say about pressure. This is one way to go and lose it all here. Just too deep. Couldn't get that car to stop. Then we're going to have Trent Allen coming in like an absolute rocket ship. There he goes as well. And then there was also Alan Dawson who had also gone round at the same time. So whether or not that was contact between Allen and Dawson, we're going to find out very, very shortly. There wasn't. I think Allen went on his own. He scared Dawson into blue submission there, and Dawson hit the brakes, and unfortunately he went round at the same time. So Dawson, Allen and Burgess, well, enjoy that back end there, because that's where you're likely to be. Ooh, Edwards
is now around at the hairpin as well. Yeah. So we've lost more cars as they get back under green flag racing, and for Trent Allen, he was in a great spot. Now it's Nick Wood, and you mentioned Nick Wood after that round of pit stops. What a great spot he's put himself in. Well, that spot's become one better. It's now onto the podium for Nick Wood, and we'll wonder whether or not he's got a little bit of pace to show to Daniel Magri here. And later on in the piece, the tyres have cooled off. Time to have a go at each other. Coleman is gone, and that hole is now going to fill itself with Daniel Magri, and can Nick Wood apply some pressure to the rear bumper here?
Well, I don't know if Woods had the pace. Oh, it looks like Hanlon's just made himself look, unfortunately, giving himself a little bit of an error there. He's just gone off the side of the circuit as well. That allowed Lawrence, Gretsch, Chapman all to get through. And now for Hanlon, he's got Dutch climbing all over the back of him, and Provenzali's in there as well. Ricky's up 13 places here. An amazing gain, but there's only one man who's got more than that, and that is Nick Wood on 16 places gained. An incredible run from Wood, and most of it was coming in that pit stop. Now Burgess is trying to battle with Leif McClymont here as well. McClymont doesn't have to move over. He can just sit there and say, well, you carry on, son. But you can see all the battles through here. Gretchen Lawrence is one of them, and the other three of Hanlon, Dutch, and Provenzali behind them.
I tell you what, there is going to be one more lap after this one. So 2 laps of the Silverstone circuit to complete us here. And at 5.8 kilometers, she's a long one. Dutch is going to get down the inside of Martin Hallonen, and Hallonen is struggling big time. He's now going to lose a spot at the one in the background, and Provenzali is going to follow him through. And I tell you what, it's not over yet as they get down through the Degners, and Provenzali has to jump hard on the brakes. Hallion's out of sequence. He's tumbling through the order. He's got to catch that car and settle himself again.
Yeah, he's got to try and do something here. Middleton's under pressure as well from McClymont. Middleton, Burgess! Oh, Burgess got his elbows out there. He had a sniff of a gap, and he absolutely did it through. He bullied McClymont out of that gap. He got that gap, and now Burgess is trying to move his way back out. He's going to shoot round the outside of Middleton here. It should be job done by the time they get into Spoon. Jimmy's done it again! Oh!
Well, he rescued that one. It could have been a lot worse for Jimmy Middleton. Could have been a heck of a lot worse for him.
Yeah,
as they come down the flat out straight for the second last time here tonight. You've got to start thinking for Nick Wood. He is closing. He is making time. There's 3/4 of a second, half to 3/4 of a second he's got to make up to get this job done. Turn 1, you think he's too far back. As they come out of the final corner, there will be 5.8 kilometers to sell this season to its final stanza. It's not over yet. 1 lap to go.
Just about. They made it by about 4 seconds or 5 seconds, I think it was, as they crossed over that line. Lawrence is still now going at Greg, coming down into turn 1 with Chapman in front as well, and Scholes in front of that one. Burgess is not giving up. McClymont has got back through on Burgess. So, oh no, Darren Burgess was another master of his own downfall, unfortunately. It looked like for him, he's just gone and made another error once more, and I think that's going to be too deep into Casio. It is. That's almost a carbon copy of the incident we saw with Jimmy Middleton earlier on. So unfortunately for Burgess, he's now got to try and clear McClymont once more, and Lawrence has just got to try and get past Gretkin and Chapman, and that is not going to be easy on the final lap of the race. Coleman should practically have this wrapped up.
Yeah, he has, and the benefit for Stefan Lawrence underneath these 2 Porsches, they're not quick in a straight line, and they're not quick when one of them makes a mistake as they run through the Degners. And now it's the run to the hairpin. Half a lap left to run. Stefan Lawrence has got pace. Will he look for the switchback and the drive off? He's propped him really well as Gretsch at the apex. And there's no drive there, so they'll come to the final straight. They'll come to the long run to 130R, and that potentially is going to be the last opportunity. For now, Adrian Gretsch, there's no way he'll grab one more spot, but for Sam Chapman, he's crawling all over Scholes. For the guys up front, how close is Nick Wood? You would say probably not enough, because he's 0.4 of a second back. It's the final run to 130R. The final chicane will be the only opportunity that's left for the final race of season number 1 of the GT4s. And for Sam Chapman, he's crawling all over Scholes. For Nick Wood, he is crawling all over Dan Magri. Do you have a go? He's too far back. He's had to get on the brakes early. Magri's in quite deep, holding this one up. I think there's a slowdown penalty for Nick Wood.
Yeah, it looks like
so
he's
he's
lost
had
it.
to massively back out of that one.
But the,
And I think they're all going to get through, so that'll be everyone getting to the line here, Jimmy.
yeah, Coleman goes over the line in first with Magri in second and Wood in third. Dutch and Lawrence still fighting out as they've come down to the line. It was Lawrence, it was Dutch. Lawrence just got the inside line. I can guarantee that he's probably hugged that barrier tight as anything here. Proctor's another man who's just coming down to the line with Allen as well. Proctor he was behind Allen there, nothing being able to do there. Swanepoel just goes over the line in that Mercedes with Edwards, who seems to be having a little bit of an issue, and then Darren Burgess will be the last one over the line in a very crashed up car. And this is what happened to Burgess towards the end of this race. Nope, that was did he have that incident a little bit earlier? Was that the one earlier he had?
Has he got front tyres on that car?
I'm trying to find it here.
I wonder whether or not he's not blown a front tyre.
Oh, that was when he went in. That was. Oh no, this was another incident. That can't have been when he just got into Casio that deep.
The front left tyre.
He's shot.
The front left tyre on that car is ripped off.
Yeah. What's he done coming out of Degner here? Oh, there we go. Coming through Degner too there, Scotty. He got it all a little bit wrong. And unfortunately, that is why he has been shot as it currently is. But the results will be on your screen. There you go.
That's it. And for the final time this season, the results as they stand, it's going to be Owen Coleman who wins the race. He qualified on pole. He led every single lap of the race bar the pit stops. And he got out the other side with the championship as well. For Daniel Magri, he comes home in P2. It was a race-long fight with Darren Burgess, and Burgess made a mistake on the safety car restart, which ended him P number 2. And for Nick Wood, a fuel strategy gamble turned into a fuel strategy delight for him in P3. Skulls will come home a distant 4th place at 8 seconds back, and only just in front of Sam Chapman was the cork in the bottle late on. Adrian Gretsch managed to get home in front of Stefan Lawrence and Andrew Dutch in 8th. Martin Hallinan and Ricky Provenzali round out your top 10, up 13 spots for Provenzali. Alan Dawson finishes outside the top 10 alongside of Afonso Latella, involved in that lap 1 incident. Trent Allen and Andrew Proctor, next 2 cars home. Top 15 rounded out by Leith McClimate. Shock Swanepoel, Cam Edwards, Darren Burgess with one tyre hanging off of the car. Scraps that thing back to the finish line, and Jimmy Middleton finishes inside the top 19. Mark Foster didn't finish the race, was inside the top 27 laps down, and Ronald Long rounds out your field. And ladies and gentlemen, that was a cracking long season. Owen Coleman will win a championship, but some excellent fun was had by all involved.
Yeah, I think it was a good season. As you say, Coleman has now, done it, and he's doing his celebratory donuts. I didn't believe he's down in turn 1 there, smoking it up in that Riot Squad Mercedes. He's done a great job. He's been amazing all season. He deserves to as well. I think, as we said, his lowest quali position was like 2nd or something coming up to that one. So I think overall he deserves what he's done this season. I think it's great for Owen Coleman, and fair play to him. Congratulations, you are the champion.
Yeah, ladies and gents, that is your Season 1 champion for GT4s. Put a lot of work into Owen Coleman right throughout the year, but he got the job done at the end of the day, and the proof is in the pudding, as they tend to say, for Nick Wood and Daniel Magri. Good finish to round out the season. For Nick Wood, a little bit up, a little bit down, and he got there in the end, so he'll take that to round things off, and a safety car to tie things up nicely in a bunch. I enjoyed that safety car. Added a nice sting to the tail of the season.
I think the thing is, that was probably needed. Like, it was seriously needed, because Coleman was running away with it at the front, which obviously is for Owen Coleman, he's not going to be overly impressed about it, but it was definitely needed, especially as the fact that Swanepoel was kind of around and around and around and an up and a side and a down there, Scotty. So it was needed. And if there's one that I can sit back and say, yeah, we needed it for that Swanepoel incident. So, but for Coleman, he still went and wrapped up the championship. So, yeah, no foul, you know what I mean?
Yep, had to do things the long way around, but did them successfully, and that's the That's the key factor. So
I agree.
anyway, ladies and gents, at this point in time, I'm going to see if I can grab Owen just quickly. I get the feeling he's actually probably in the middle of celebrating a little bit. Owen Coleman, congratulations, brother. How was that one? That did not look easy by any stretch of the imagination.
I probably over practiced for that race. I just wanted to cover all bases. I'm so happy. I was sort of hoping that when that safety car come out, I was like, oh no, here we go. But yeah, as I went into the first corner after it, it felt a bit slippery, and then I can't remember who was behind me, but I watched them sort of go for a bit of a slide. So and then it was just a matter of maintaining that gap.
In terms of things, mate, dominance from one of the seasons to the other. You qualified either first or second right throughout the season. There was only really the one off round in the middle of all of that, and quite comfortable in the end. The amount of practice that you've been putting in, I guess you can't say that you can complain about the race conditions anymore.
I think everyone noticed in the race it was probably, I think it was a bit windier than what we were practicing in. No, I think you can ask everyone, because in general the times weren't really there compared to what we were doing in the practice. But overall it was good. The car felt good, so
You always find something to complain about.
I'm just so happy with that.
Mate, looked like a good race from sun up to sundown. We'll give you the opportunity. Floor's all yours to thank all those that you'd like to thank.
Obviously got Game and Get Direct, all of you guys in the commentary booth, Bliss Homes, the Mark Hughes Foundation, Card FX, Virtual Motorsport Mentor, and yeah, literally just everyone behind the scenes, like Jimmy, Rick, and just everyone. A special shout out to Jimmy, Dutchy, and Foz. They've really helped me over this season, just helping me sort of almost decompress a bit, and just not try to have so much stuff on my mind at times. So, everyone's been awesome. And yeah, Motorsport Hauler, just in case I didn't forget.
Thanks very much for your time, Owen. We'll let you go off and celebrate with the boys, and I know it'll be a communal affair. You tend to hang around and chat to a bunch of people after the race, mate, so go and enjoy with the friends.
Cheers, guys. Have a good night.
And JP, you want to chat to Daniel Magri or anyone else whilst we got the time?
Well, only if they want
Nick
to.
would. I tell you what, Nick wants up in the general chat.
You know what I mean? Only if they want to. I don't really mind. Obviously, if they're celebrating the fact with Coleman, I'm more than happy to let them crack on, to be fair. I think they've fully deserved it after this evening's racing, but we have been joined by the man that did gain 16 places throughout that race. He started down in 19th. He took the podium. He sneaked into that third like a ninja sneaking into the forest. But we can have a chat with Nick Wood now. Nick, welcome in this. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you.
Awesome stuff. That race weren't bad for you at all, was it there, sir? Up 16 places?
Yeah, no, I can't complain with that. That was a good night. I didn't even expect to be here tonight, but I jumped on at the last second, so yeah, it was a good race.
Yeah, what was it about that opening stint that sort of made you gain most of them places? Because, as I say, once the pit stop cycles were kicking in, you were moving up and up and up and up and up, and then you went into the pits, and then you come out in like fourth, I think it was. So what was it in that first stint you did to maybe manage to hold fuel on for longer than the others?
I guess a lot of fuel saving. I've been held up a little bit from time to time, so yeah, just managed to save enough fuel to do another lap.
Yeah, absolutely stellar job there as well. Nick, you happy with your season as it's gone this season?
Well, I haven't really been involved with the GT4 season too much, so I think this is only the second race I've done, so yeah, it was just about having a bit of fun. And yeah, congratulations to Owen. Well done on the win.
Yeah, absolutely stellar job there, Nick. Anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
No, just everyone turning up for racing and the sponsors of the series, GDD and everyone else who sponsors, and you guys putting the broadcast on. It's always a bit of fun to watch back.
Awesome stuff, Nick. Well, congratulations there, bud, on your podium spot. Well done to you, and hopefully we might see you next season.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Well, there you go, guys. That was
All right,
Nick
Jimmy,
Wood.
I think that just about... Yeah, I was about to say, I think that just about wraps up that season. It's been a cracker from lights out to flag, man. And it's been a pleasure to share the commentary booth along with you as well. It's been a unique pleasure, one that doesn't come along every day.
No, it doesn't. I'm not quite sure unique. You know, I would say, you know, enjoyable, Scotty, lovable, you know, unique. Yeah, maybe. But it has been fun, Scotty. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah. Look, you're a unique pleasure. You're an acquired taste, and I've quite enjoyed our banter. And it's something I'll strongly look forward to in the future as well. You're an acquired taste. You're not for everyone.
What am I, stinky cheese or something? You know what I mean?
Look, stinky cheese tends to be good cheese a lot of the time as well. So, finally aged to the appropriate amount where he's wisened up enough to say specific things that other people wouldn't have the guts to say. Is the way I'd say it.
Well, that's fair enough, yeah. And,
have I covered myself off well?
Yeah, you've done rather well there. I'll be in the steward's booth in the morning, so I'm not really worried about that. But Scotty, no, it has been a pleasure, mate. It's been a fun season to do, to be fair.
Thanks very much for your time. I'll tell you what, for everyone that's been watching along, thank you for joining us on the journey that's been GT4 Season 1. It's been an absolute cracker from lights out to flag. Owen Coleman becomes your season number 1 GT4 champion. Who's going to win it when they pop out the other side in terms of GT3 in just a couple of weeks' time? You'll have to tune in to find out for the final round for 2023. It's coming your way from everyone here from the JP Broadcasting team for the Premier Endurance Racing League on behalf of Gamer Gear Direct and Virtual Motorsport Mentor. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next time.